Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it seems like the media had to cut the feed about the video showing explicit material in schools, and even Twitter had to potentially, what is the word? They had to block it for sensitive content. Now, of course, you're gonna have a lot of full idiots that are gonna, go against this. But I think if you guys see the actual video, which I cannot show on YouTube, by the way, I'll actually get banned. So I'm not gonna show that. I don't even think you can show this on Rumble, actually, because it's that bad. So, that being said, we're gonna go over exactly what's going on, what Ron DeSantis is actively saying here, and exposing the lie that the media wants to portray. And what this one guy will say in the video that after all this stuff is also a lie, and we're gonna go over that. Take a look at this.
Have to view what you just viewed, so I'm glad I didn't. But I think that we need to have truth prevail, and so today we're going to be exposing. We've already exposed with that video. I think this idea of a book ban in Florida, that somehow they don't want books in the library. That's a hoax. And that's really a nasty hoax, because it's a hoax in service of trying to pollute and sexualize our children. So we have seen over many weeks. So first of all, I think that video, I think some of the news had to cut the feed because it's graphic.
Yeah, and it's not great. We're going to go over a tiny bit of what's going on here about the book, and some of the things that the news media has been talking about, some of the lies they want to be portraying here, because we have to show it to you all. Now, I'm not lying to you about how bad this actual book is, or these books, rather, and how bad a lot of these, what you would say, the whole instance of what's going on. Now, here's the thing. When I show you guys the actual video after this clip of the media, you're going to understand that I can't show everything. And the problem is just because it's way too graphic. The best that I could probably do is maybe show you the audio, but I don't even know if I'm going to do that. So, I will obviously leave the Exposing the Book Ban Hoax Twitter link into the description below, so you'll be able to view that to yourselves. The whole thing is about, give or take, 9 minutes to go over everything. I would suggest skipping to around 4 minutes or so to really get into the actual video, because they have like a 30-second timer or whatever. All right, let's get directly into that clip. Yeah, and it's not great. We're going to go over a tiny bit of what's going on here about the book, and some of the things that the news media has been talking about, some of the lies they want to be portraying here, because we have to show it to you all. Now, I'm not lying to you about how bad this actual book is, or these books, rather, and how bad a lot of these, what you would say, the whole instance of what's going on. Now, here's the thing. When I show you guys the actual video after this clip of the media, you're going to understand that I can't show everything. And the problem is just because it's way too graphic. The best that I could probably do is maybe show you the audio, but I don't even know if I'm going to do that. So, I will obviously leave the Exposing the Book Ban Hoax Twitter link into the description below, so you'll be able to view that to yourselves. The whole thing is about, give or take, 9 minutes to go over everything. I would suggest skipping to around 4 minutes or so to really get into the actual video, because they have like a 30-second timer or whatever. All right, let's get directly into that clip.
Some things that many people would consider to be jaw-dropping and offensive images that we just cannot show on television. The governor says it doesn't belong in schools either.
These books are clearly not just conversation starters about the birds and the bees.
The press conference began with a 5-minute video showing books with sexually explicit content found in Florida schools, like Flamer and Gender Queer. These books were reported by parents and then ultimately removed. Governor Ron DeSantis and his education commissioners say with good reason. They say the state isn't banning books, they're removing porn.
I just think parents, when they're sending their kids to school, They should not have to worry about this garbage being in the schools.
Removing clear instances of pornography and sexually explicit materials, often within arm's reach of our youngest kids, is not book banning.
In Florida, school districts are responsible for determining what's appropriate. Pursuant to a new law passed last year, all books must now be reviewed by a specialist. Parents can object. After the process plays out, any book that has been removed must be reported to the Florida Department of Education. I put in a public records request and found thus far 175 books have been removed in Florida. 151, the majority, have been deemed to contain pornographic material.
Even if this pornography comes in cartoon form, it's still not okay for our kids.
I think reasonable minds can agree that inappropriate books should not be in our libraries.
State Senator Chevron Jones, a Democrat from Miami, says it's bigger than that. He says some books that are important to the Black community have also been removed.
The truth is that there is a narrative that unfortunately that the governor and the Republicans have started that is giving them this excuse to ban books because they believe that it is indoctrinating students or banning books because it's pushing an ideology, and in turn they're banning books of significance.
So I did talk with the senator late today. He mentioned specific books that have been deemed to be problematic in Florida, and we're looking into those titles, the content next, and to see if any action has been taken by any school districts. So some more work to do on my part there.
And we're not through the finish line here at all, because all of these schools have to report. There's a deadline here, right?
Yeah, that's right. June 30th is the deadline. School districts must tell the Florida Department of Education all the books that have been removed. I mentioned in the story that 175 books have been removed so far, but that is only with 23 school districts responding to a voluntary survey. But June 30th, this is not voluntary. All this information must be handed over, and then we'll get to see it too.
We're not going to put up with narrative pornographic accounts or pictorial pornographic accounts.
But Reagan Miller with the Florida Freedom to Read Project pushed back, accusing the governor of creating his own false narrative.
He makes it sound like, one, that our schools are full of pornography. I think that is completely inaccurate. That is false.
And she says the images shown Wednesday need context and aren't available to really young children.
It takes a book completely out of context. And none of these books that he's talking about were in curriculum.
But according to Governor Desantis, they were found in some school libraries.
Yeah, so the video was pretty bad, and you're just kind of seeing there from the actual articles and the people are saying about what the books and how many books were banned. Yeah, and a lot of those counties are pretty awful. Now, I'm going to go directly into what we're talking about here. Now, see this when I'm not lying on how Twitter says that the following media includes potentially sensitive content. This does not happen unless your content is sensitive or contains graphic material such as rape, murder, and also porn. So obviously you're going to have to see this. So you have to click on the view thing here, obviously here. So this is the issue that I have. So guys, for what you're going to be seeing here is kind of a brief view of what's going on. So as I said, you're probably going to have to go down to the actual mark here. So we'll go to 552 because I think this is technically where it all starts. There's all the bullshit that you guys really need to go through. So we'll watch very briefly of some of the stuff that's in here. Assuming it will want to go through. Anyhow, if that doesn't want to work, we'll do this. First, we have to do the myths versus facts of book ban hoax. So what we have here is Florida schools have been directed to empty libraries and cover classroom books. School districts are required to report the number of books removed from schools based on legislation passed in 2022. Of the 23 districts that reported removing materials, the most removed were tied at 19 in Duval and Street and Young counties, not even close to a whole classroom library. Of the 170 books removed across the state, 164, 94% were moved from media centers, and 153, 87% were identified as pornographic, violent, or inappropriate for their grade level. Myth. Florida is banning children's books about Hank Aaron and Roberto Clemente. Books found by parents in Florida schools are genderqueer, and one more are an explicit pornographic book showing sex acts. Flamer, a graphic book about young boys performing sexual acts at a summer camp. This book is gay, a book containing instructions on the ins and outs of gay sex. And Let's Talk About It, a book that contains graphic depictions about how to masturbate for males and females. Myth. Florida has banned the instruction of the African American history, including the discussion of slavery and the aftermath of slavery. Under Governor, this is a fact, under Governor Desantis, the instruction on African American history has only expanded. The governor has signed a legislation that ensures that Florida students learn about the 1920 OC Election Day riots, in addition to requiring instruction on slavery, the Civil War, and Jim Crow laws. Additionally, the following is required instruction on the history of African Americans in Florida statute: the history of African peoples before the political conflicts that led to the development of slavery, the passage to America, the enslavement experience, abolition, the history and contributions of Americans of the African diaspora to society, HB 7, signed in 2022, further expanding instruction of African American history to develop students' understanding the ramifications of prejudice and racism. Myth. Florida teachers could be committing third-degree felony by having books on certain topics with their classrooms. Fact. Florida has taken a stand against pornography and sexual material in the classrooms. HB 1557 and HB 1467 further solidify Florida's commitment to ensuring that the content available to our schools is appropriate for students. Statute 847 has been in a law for many years and carries a felony penalty for the distribution of pornographic material to children. So that's what's going on right there. So we also have this news feed to cut shocking designed this video about explicit material in school's Twitter as warning label. Obviously, as I already mentioned, that a lot of the stuff has been censored or not being shown because obviously it's explicit material. Ron Desantis on Wednesday on a rant video at a presser on the subject of content available in Florida public schools and the material the children had access to was so explicit the live feed was cut and Twitter had to place a sensitive content label on the clips. The hour-long press conference was on the subject of the content in schools under a banner exposing the book ban of POAX, and opened with a several minutes long video highlighting materials that were graphic in nature. After the video, designers took the podium saying, "I didn't have to view what you just viewed, so I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I didn't." He made some introductory comments and then added, "I think that the video, I think some of the news had to cut the feed because it's graphic." The Justice War Room account tweeted about it. So we have this here. Florida's Wars, new our coverage of Florida school books shown to children released by Governor DeSantis at a press conference. Today has been marked sensitive content by Twitter. Yeah, it has. I've shown you guys that. I'll say it again. When we were told sexually explicit content would be shown, we went down. I'm not disputing that. I may have mailed my newsroom concerned. Then after around 11:21, we had a technical issue when was speaking. True technical issue. I clearly tweeted when we were down for sexually explicit content at the beginning of the press conference. Matt again looked at the thread. Then we had a brief technical issue when was speaking. No cover-up. It was a technical issue. Yes, I did ask the feed to go down for the warning. I don't show explicit content. Questionable material must be reviewed. So yeah. It even says from Kyle Lamb, material so graphic that media can't air it. School board meetings don't think it's appropriate to discuss. But yet, some people want to fight to keep this content in school, libraries, and when it's removed. They would just honestly call it banning books. So, yeah. That's the thing here. So this is a legitimate thing that actually happened and a great concern. Now, obviously, I don't think we'll be able to view all this. I'll refresh this, of course, and try my very best, for the most part, to try to get this to view to everyone, or at least some of it. It may not work, and I'm not quite sure. I did this before and it worked fine. So yeah, it just doesn't want to work. So essentially what it is that pretty much what you see here is all in this video. It just being way more in depth onto it. This puts out the bullet points. And if you guys don't think this is true, then we can obviously go through some of these as well. HP7, I will probably do a video on that specifically, on doing some of the things that this has here. But at the end of the day, the media had to cut the video because it was too explicit. All this stuff is here. So yeah. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care.